G'day Year 7s, and here I am for my third video, and yeah, it's been three in a row actually, so I'm ripping through these. Yeah, I've got a very exciting life. Yeah, just sitting here of an evening doing math video tutorials. But anyway, it's for everyone's benefit, so let's get on with it. Okay, this is exercise 11D. All right, area of rectangles, but also squares. Okay. Most of you know this stuff, so hopefully we'll get through this video really quickly as well. So area is measured in square units. Now I spoke in my last video about making sure you specify all through this unit. You've got to specify your units. There are centimetres and metres and kilometres and all that sort of stuff, but you've also got to specify because there's a difference between 1 kilometre and 1 square kilometre. Okay, they are very different. They give you very different bits of information. So it's again important you use the correct units here. So if we're talking about square units, so for example, if we're talking about 1 square kilometre, you've got to make sure you put that 2 there. All right, because if you just have 1 kilometre and 1 kilometre squared, there's a big difference in what you are actually talking about there. Okay, now area is often referred to as the amount of space contained inside a flat shape. So normally a two-dimensional shape, but you can calculate surface area of three-dimensional objects as well, which basically goes through the same sort of process. Okay, so you do talk about here, and all the problems here are basically on two-dimensional shapes, but you can calculate surface area using the same process for three-dimensional shapes as well. So for example here, the amount of paint needed to paint a house and the amount of chemical needed to spray a paddock are examples of when area would be considered. Okay, and again, yeah, that's stuff you will use in everyday life, definitely. Okay, so metric units of length, area, not length, include 1 square millimetre, 1 square centimetre, 1 square metre, 1 square kilometre, and a hectare, which you do need to know that, is 10 metres squared. All right, so that is a hectare. So 100 by 100 metres is a hectare length. All right, and you do need to understand what a hectare is. We don't talk about hectares too often, but understand that is basically a square of 100 metres by 100 metres. Okay, so yeah, area is the amount of space inside an object. So these are area, so 1 metre squared, 1 centimetre squared, 1 millimetre squared up the top there, 1 kilometre squared, and so on. So there's the amount of space taken up inside an object, as it says here, the amount of space contained inside a flat plane shape. Okay, all right, the area of a rectangle is given by a number of rows multiplied the number of columns. Okay, so this is your formula. A equals L times W, L standing for length, W standing for width. Okay, square, you can calculate a square by saying length times length, but when you multiply 2, and this is algebra, and this is where algebra is, again, flows through to so many different different concepts and ideas in mathematics. L times L gives you L squared. So if you're going to calculate the length of a square, it is just basically L squared. All right, so if my length here was 2, for example, 2 squared, whoops, that's really poor, I want to draw that again. 2 squared gives me 4, because remember 2 squared is this number being multiplied by itself twice. So 2 times 2, okay? 2 times 2 gives me 4, all right? But a rectangle is length times width, so you've actually got to specify your length and width when you're talking about rectangles. All right. First example here is that you need to calculate the area just by counting the number of squares that a shape takes up. The only thing you've got to be careful of here is that some of the shape doesn't cover the entire square, so you've got to work out how much of the square is covered and put squares together, parts of squares together to make a full square. All right, so if we're going to count the squares to calculate the area of this shape, we've got a full 1 there, we've got a full 1 there, got a full 1 there, there's 3 full ones, 4 full ones, 5 full ones. All right, so my area there is, I'm just going to say, this is me doing my working out, is 5 plus I've got part of a shape here, but this shape, okay, it basically splits these two in half. So if this line is splitting these two squares in half, obviously that must be 1. You can see that this part of the shape could fill in down in there, in here. Okay, so that is 1 square in there. So my area is 6, and I'm going to say units because we don't actually know what the units are. Don't know whether it's, oh no, there we go, centimetre grid. So I'm going to change that. So my answer is going to be 6 centimetres squared. Okay, 6 centimetres squared because it says it's a centimetre grid. So there we go. All right, so pretty simple, but you do have to be careful with some of the questions you get, that you are very careful about how you count up your squares, particularly in squares that aren't completely filled with that shape. There's only part of the square filled by the shape, so just be careful of that one. Okay, and I've only got one little slide left, ripping through these. Find the area of this rectangle. So my area for a rectangle, write your formula. Okay, I'm going to be hounding and really coming down on you guys, showing you working out this second semester. Spoken about it a number of times. Time to get on board with this properly. So the first thing you always do through this this entire section, this entire unit about measurement, is that you write, that's the first thing you write is a formula you are using. All right, so to find the area of this rectangle, so our rectangle formula is length times width. So my length here, that's my length, that's my width. Length is 10, my width is 4, so substitution, again using algebra here, and gives me 40, and we're talking millimetres here, squared. So my area inside this object is 40 millimetres squared. Okay, here I've got a square, so area equals length squared, which equals 2.5 squared, which equals, what's 2.5 squared? I'm struggling with that one myself. So give me my calculator, bring that up, 2.5, I don't have a square here, so I'm going to multiply that by 2.5, which gives me 6.25. 6.25 centimetres squared. Done. That easy. All right, really simple stuff. Yeah, not going to go into it more than that because finding areas of rectangles or squares are really simple. So length times width, or if you're doing a square, length squared, put it in, use your calculator, you just saw me do it, get your answer. That simple. Don't forget to put the units. Don't forget to show your working out, full working out. Start with writing up the formula. That is the first thing you need to do each and every time. All right, I think that is it. Done through it, done that, and done that, and we're flying. All right, good luck. That's exercise 11D. Really easy. Get stuck into it. Off you go, guys. Bye-bye.